Okay. Welcome, everybody.
Thank,
Go ahead, Nikki.
welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Service Unit Roundtable on, God, I can't even believe I'm saying this, March 26th. Like, we're almost in the fourth month of the year, which is insane. I feel like Christmas was yesterday, mainly because I probably just took my banister light down last week. So that's probably why I still feel like it was Christmas. But thanks for being here. And we have a lot of important things to get through, so we're going to jump right into it. So next is our yeah, you all know this gig, right? It's not your first rodeo on Zoom. We've done this a
No.
million times. Jody, myself, Melissa, we have pretty much the whole staff on. But we're
Mhm.
going to be presenting and chatting various things with you. Ultimately, what we're going to do is talk about our driver guideline updates and then the service unit team camp out. Just a reminder on that, and just a quick update on rallyhood. And then in the actual service unit talking points are going to be the department updates so that you can refer back to those. We just did not want to spend our time on that tonight since we had driver guideline updates that we wanted to talk about. So, let me see here. Bonnie, you're unmuted. Will you say the Girl Scout promise for me?
Sure. Everybody ready?
We're ready?
Okay. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law.
Thank you so much. And Bonnie, I don't know why. Maybe it's because you're a bee. You popped up first on my list. So thank you. I appreciate you doing that. All right. So let's jump right into the driver guideline changes and updates to kind of fill you in where we are. I want to make sure that everyone knows kind of what we're talking about and where we're going. So ultimately, we're going to use some pretty simple infographics to just kind of get you started with where we are. The Girl Scout organization has to operate, and we do operate very similarly when it comes to troop or group meetings, or for activities occurring away from our troop or meeting place, very much like a school. For schools, obviously, youth are transported to and from the school by buses and or a parent or caregiver. And I don't know if you all are seeing this in your area, but I will say this: we are there's a lot more people taking their kids to school than they are riding a bus, which is kind of insane. All right, Jody, next one. Maybe. There it is. Okay, okay, good. So, here is the big change for us. We're going to go through all of the changes, but this is the big one for you. Girl Scout volunteers are no longer responsible for coordinating transportation for any Girl Scout activity occurring within a 75-mile radius of the regular troop or group meeting location. So let me kind of pause here for a second and say this is a lot of information and a lot of meetings with GSUSA and our attorneys and our insurance company, and talking with various, obviously the board, various constituents and stakeholders in this, and figuring out what worked best for parents, but yet also was really still following the safety guidelines and keeping in line with the true desire of safety activity checkpoints by GSUSA. I will share with you in several of my conversations with GSUSA, I've probably given them 15 different places where I say, this language is way too ambiguous. You are not clear. You are contradicting yourself here compared to this other place. So please know that there was a lot of that conversation back and forth. And ultimately, this is where we landed. So, what does that mean? Well, let me go ahead. Yeah. So, for any activity, you on the next one, Jody? Yep, there we go. For any Girl Scout activity occurring 75 miles or more away from your troop meeting space. So if it's over 75 miles, then the Girl Scout volunteers are responsible for coordinating transportation and ensuring the adults are driving are Girl Scout qualified adult drivers. So what does that mean? Ultimately, anything over 75 miles now is going to fall into our Girl Scout driving guidelines that we had. There are a few changes in those, but what you've always done for Girl Scout transportation for a trooper group, if it's over 75 miles, it's going to fall into that. All right, next one, Jody.
So we had,
So when transporting a troop, or is it there?
yeah, hold
It,
on. Okay.
oh, you went one too far.
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go. When transporting trooper group members who do not live in the driver's household, Girl Scout guidelines are such that that volunteers really need to obtain qualified drivers and chaperones to transport Girl Scouts to and from or during the field trip activities using personal vehicles. And again, this is when we're over
75 miles.
75 miles
Right.
that you're going to have to follow those Girl Scout guidelines. So let's jump into the actual policy revisions so you can see what they are and where they are. So this is P1 policy, and you'll see in red what the change is. So it says troops or groups must have written permission from a council employee to participate in activities that involve. And again, this is your troop activity permission form that you've always had to do. Nothing is changing there. The change is that now if you're traveling to, during, and or from activities that occur more than 75 miles from your regular Girl Scout meeting location. All right. So again, anything under 75 miles from your normal Girl Scout meeting location, I need to say that very clearly. It is the parents' responsibility and they choose how they get their girl to and from that location. So procedures. Again, qualified drivers must be coordinated by the Girl Scout volunteers for your troop or group transportation, carpooling, what we've always done for all activities. Now it's just if they're over a 75-mile radius from your regular meeting location. And if there is a Juliet, like if a group of Juliets are going to coordinate transportation, not individual by themselves, right, with their parent driving them, but if a group is going to coordinate, that meeting location defaults to our headquarters building because they don't have a regular meeting place. And then obviously, it says to remain within council boundaries. And this is the same thing that if you are outside of council boundaries, you still have to follow the normal guidelines. There's nothing that's changing there. We just spelled out what outside council boundaries is. All right, next slide, Jody. So again, you must submit an activity or trip permission for council approval before. These were all there that were in black, but in red, travel to, during, and or from activities occurring more than 75 miles from your normal troop meeting location. And I think the important part here is that it doesn't matter who is coordinating that activity. So even if it is a council activity and you have girls coming, and it's more than 75 miles, this has always been the case, you still need to make sure that you're doing a trip permission because if you're coming to a council event and there are ratio requirements and we need an outdoor ed certified or anything like that, that's the information that has to be on that. Again, none of that has changed. We're just reiterating that. And again, council boundaries, we spelled it out, what those are. And that has always been a case. You've always had to do an activity or trip permission if you were going on a day or overnight trip outside of council boundaries. All right, next one, Jody. So this is the current policy. Don't panic because this is the current policy, what we really worked on changing. And you see there in the highlighted yellow, it says that if a group is traveling in more than one vehicle, each additional vehicle must consist of two unrelated adult drivers and chaperones that are registered background checked members, approved adults, and one of them must be female. And I did want to make sure that I clarify something here because part of this still continues in the next one. That is not that you have to have two qualified drivers. All right. You have to have one qualified driver and another qualified chaperone. So an approved adult volunteer as that secondary person is what that meant. There was a lot of confusion that it was all required or verified drivers, qualified drivers. So now we're going to tell you what the change is. There we go. All right. So again, how parents decide to transport Girl Scouts between their homes and the Girl Scout meeting places. So up to a 75-mile radius from the regular Girl Scout meeting location is the parent's individual decision and responsibility. For planned Girl Scout trips or activities beyond 75 miles from the regular meeting location, in which obviously you're organizing carpooling, then these are the things that have to happen. Again, every driver must be registered background check member at least 21 years of age. Girl Scout youth members are never allowed to drive others to or from Girl Scout activities or field trips because, again, remember, this is now Girl Scouts sanctioned. That is not if you're going 20 miles and a parent says, this 18-year-old babysitter can pick up my child, that's the parent's responsibility. We are talking about over 75 miles where you are organizing travel. For a single vehicle, and this was already there, right? This was in the safety activity checkpoints. At least two unrelated background checked, again approved, adult volunteers, one must be female, must be present in the vehicle. This is the change that we've made. And again, this came as real partnership with legal, insurance, the board, and GSUSA looking at safety activity checkpoints. So for multi-car travel, and again, this is over 75 miles. Remember this. Multi-car travel, at least two unrelated background checks, so approved adult volunteers, one of which must be female, must be present per vehicle when you are transporting Daisy Brownie juniors or cadets. All right, so again, you must have at least one qualified driver and one unrelated adult chaperone. They don't both have to be qualified drivers, and that's Daisy Brownie junior and or cadet. So let me also clarify the only change that this would, or the only place that this really is a difference than what is already in Girl Scout, or where, I shouldn't say what's already in, where it would take up a spot. Because I know some people said, well, if we do that, then we're taking a seat, that front seat from someone. So safety activity checkpoints have always said that girls 12 and under cannot ride in the front seat. So you shouldn't have had a girl in that front seat anyway. And the only group that really that would pertain to now in this new rule is a cadet who's 13 or 14. But because we can't break up an age group, it includes cadets too, that you'd have to have the two people. For multi-car travel with seniors and ambassadors, the entire group must include two unrelated background checked adult volunteers, one of whom is female. And so, of course, each car must have at least one qualified driver because you can't drive without that. But when we're talking seniors and ambassadors, it only has to be one driver or one person per car. And you got to have at least two on the trip. But if you're taking more than two cars, you will have two. If you're taking multi-car anyway. Now, let me also add something here that I don't think we put out. When is this different? Let's say you're only going 20 miles, but as a group, you all want to meet at the Walmart or your troop location and all follow in carpool. It is now organized carpooling, okay? Even though it is over 75 miles. So if you're saying we're going to meet at, I'm going to make up places. If you're in Roanoke and you say we're going to meet at Virginia Tech for the women's basketball game, let's all meet outside of Castle Coliseum at 6 p.m., that is not, you've not organized that because they are getting there on their own from Roanoke to Blacksburg. It is less than 75 miles, and you all just meet to go into the game together with the tickets. If we say we're going to meet at HQ and all go to the tech game, we now have to follow Girl Scout guidelines because we are organizing carpooling. Okay. I want to get to questions, but let's keep going through. I'm trying to hit the things that I'm thinking of. Next one, Jody. All right. So we just put this in here again. Nothing is changing. This has always been the case. But trip leader, as the troop leader, they have always been the trip leader or a co-leader or whoever is leading the group has been a trip leader. They are required again as for group or activities beyond a 75 mile, you got to have at least one of those people on the trip. That's the person who is responsible for ensuring that, again, the safety and well-being of all the girls is happening. They're responsible for identifying and coordinating the qualified drivers. They are responsible for submitting the trip and activity permission slip, all the things you all have already been doing. We are just saying, again, this is beyond a 75-mile radius. And as a reminder, to be a qualified Girl Scout driver, must be 21 years of age, must be a registered Girl Scout with an eligible background check with no driving restrictions. And we're going to talk about those in a minute. Must have completed the orientation. Must submit both required insurance forms, NGS Learn, and agree to the safety pledge annually and have an active driver role assigned in by council staff. And we're going to show you how to have that. But the part that we couldn't change is the fourth bullet, right? Yeah. The submit your insurance requirement annually. That is an insurance requirement. They are not budging on that. And let me explain to you why. It was actually really helpful for me on many conversations. What our insurance carrier said is, number one, the most dangerous high risk activity our girls ever do is riding in a vehicle. Number two, they have three really kind of buckets that they put vehicles in for our insurance or any council insurance. One is what they call council owned vehicles, right? So that is our STEM van. That is if we had a passenger van that we took people on. If we had a council vehicle that we use, that is owned vehicles. They know those. We have titles to them. They're insured. Obviously, they can account for those. Then we have leased or rented vehicles. Again, they don't belong to us, but they can see there is a lease agreement or a rental agreement. They know what that is. They understand how long that is being covered. Then they have what's called non-owned vehicles. Those are all of the personal vehicles that you all are using as leaders to go on these activities. And he said, that is the bunch, that is the group that they really can never get a full handle on. He said, they have over 50,000 Girl Scout volunteers nationwide. And at any given point, they have no idea how many of those vehicles are on the road because they are not registered through that insurance. And so the way that they can keep our insurance premiums from being $10,000 or $20,000 per month is to make sure that they are getting some information on the people who would be driving, which is a copy of your driving record, your insurance, and the fact that you're saying, yes, we're going to follow these guidelines and, put safety first. That is what is required, and they are not willing to budge on that. All right. Next one, Jody. So these are, again, things that are directly from the insurance we wanted to share. You knew these, but I'm just reiterating these. So the number of at-fault accidents and or citations in the previous 3 years really will impact approvals to be a qualified driver for us. The insurance carrier qualified driver requirements include that you must not have citations for reckless driving or convictions for a DUI or DWI in the last 3 years. If an individual has more than one conviction for a DUI or DWI anytime, they are permanently restricted from ever driving for Girl Scouts. And I think we all obviously know why. And GSUSA guidelines state that girls may not drive girls. So again, to be a qualified Girl Scout driver, drivers must be 21 years of age or older, meaning at camp. If you're going to take a van to a pool, they've got to be 21 years of old and 21 years old and a qualified approved driver in the system before they could drive that vehicle. And new this year, again, directly from our insurance, drivers under the age of 18 or over the age of 75 must be approved in advance by the council insurance carrier. So that takes a little bit longer. That's a longer process because they have to go through that information and then tell us yes or no, they will not include those people as being covered by our insurance. All right. Is there anything else, Jody? On the driver guideline, I think that might be it. Okay. Yeah. So we'll go through this really quick. And again, we showed you this, Jody. Do you kind of want to just hit this one more time? We showed you this in January, but this is just to make sure that you all know how to do this in the system.
Exactly. So when you log into your MyGS account, it's very clear whether, it might not say it's for renewal, but it's that date, that 12/31/26 is when that role expires. But it says active. So if you see that they have a troop driver role and it says active, they're good. They're good to go. That means they've been fully vetted. They are qualified drivers. If it's inactive, then they haven't probably renewed. They have not submitted their new insurance, right? So they did it once, but now they need to renew it. And so you can't use them. The other thing too is they just don't have the driver role listed at all. So up here, it's just expired or inactive. They're not approved. No role at all that says driver, not approved. And that's really what it means. And that's just how you can tell if who can drive when you're having to transport Girl Scouts. And if you're a service unit team member, you can pull your service unit roster, and all you need to do under the filter is under role name, switch it to contains driver, and every role, whether it's a service unit role or a troop role, that will come up and you can see in the service unit who has that active role by pulling up that full roster. So it just helps you know. So if you want to help and encourage those to get renewed or whatever, that's fine. That's how you can know. So this is those you'll only see the ones that are active. So hopefully that helps.
I think that's it now, Jody, right? Yes. Okay. So before we move to important dates, obviously, let me also back up to say we wanted to release this here first. We will share the this part of that, but there are hundreds of spaces that this has to change, and all of forms and all of the various places that we have it. So know that we are going to be working on getting that updated. If something happens and you see that it's old stuff and not new stuff, please make sure and bring it to our attention. We are going through that list, but it literally is hundreds of places that it has to change. So I did just want to say, don't panic. If you see something out there that's the old stuff, just bring it to our attention and know that these are the new guidelines.
So safety activity checkpoints, training,
Yes.
the safety pledge, forms, all the forms, the activity, event forms, all those have to be updated, and it will take us some time to get through that. Especially rolling in, we got the service unit camp out and recognitions coming right now. So, it's just bear with us. But we wanted to get this out there. That is there, but it is going to take us time so you see it in all the places. So know that none of these have changed in those forms and those trainings yet. It will take time. And Nikki and I'll kind of work on a target date for those things, so we can get that out there and let you know. So don't panic if you still see it. This is now going to be current. And the first place we start was actually with the council policy. That's the first place that we change it. So you'll see that first in those council
Yes.
policies, then it'll go in the activity trip permission, then it goes in all the trainings and all the spaces there. Hopefully that helps.
How we will handle girls individually attending mental health summit or blind. Yes, it is more than 75 miles. So if you are coming, if they are coming individually, again, with their parent, that's their business, how they get there. But if you are coming and you are carpooling, it is more than 75 miles. It falls into this normal guideline.
So Nikki, thank you so much for clarifying that. I just want to make sure I got it in my mind so that I can explain it to the other volunteers.
Sure.
So if it's something that an individual family is doing, then it's not a troop activity. I'm not doing a troop activity permit. I don't have any responsibility as a troop leader to figure out who's decided to go to the ball game.
As long as they are not putting other people in their vehicle that are not members of their family. Absolutely.
But how would I know who they're putting in their vehicle?
Well, if they're coming individually, this is if you're doing this as a troop or group activity.
Okay. So only if it's a troop or group activity. Okay.
Yes.
That's great. So I don't know if now is a good time to ask the question or whether you want to have a separate discussion about it, but how does that affect, for example, the adventurers activities where many, kids individually come from all over the council? I don't know what the distances are that they're coming.
It doesn't matter. Let me say this, Dan. This was a group we talked about. Since I have been there, there's never been a time where there have been more girls than adults for adventurers. And so they've always met that two people in the vehicle if they have to anyway. So that has never been an issue. But again, if adventurers is not organizing that and you are not doing the travel and getting them there, that is not the adventurer's responsibility.
Great. Thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Yes. And I know.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Beth. Go ahead.
Well, it's sort of driving, but it's not sort of driving. Boundaries, the county boundaries, like Mall Madness, somebody from Weir's Cave, which is in the Saul district, asked if they needed a trip activity permission. And because Rockingham County butts up to Saul, they don't. Is that correct?
It is, if it is more than, well, it depends. If they're coming as a troop, again, remember, if they're coming as a troop and it is more than, now, if it is more than 75 miles, yes. Does that make sense? If they're coming
I
as
got
a
that
troop,
part, but
yes.
okay, so I need you to take the driver part off of your head right now. And if they are, do they need a trip activity permission if they're coming 40 miles? Don't worry about the driving. Do they have to have that to say, I'm going into this county?
No, this is right here. See, it's on the screen. It has always said travel to, during, and from activities occurring 75 miles or more is when they have to submit an activity or trip permission. It's not driving, it's the 75 miles. So if the activity is more than 75 miles, because at that point, it now becomes a sanctioned Girl Scout activity, they have to do the activity trip permission. But under that, no.
Okay.
Not driving.
So I am, I've been in here a long time, and it didn't matter if you were leaving your community, your service area, you had to put a trip activity permission in no matter what. But that is not right. Now it's 75 miles is what you're telling me.
Right.
Well, all these things here, that's the only change. Again, yes.
Right.
If it's a day or an overnight, the stuff is always still the same there, Beth. If it's a day or night over trip that includes any non-registered, you got to do it. If it's outside of council boundaries, you got to do it. If it's over 2 or 3 days, you got to do it.
Got it.
If it's out of the U.S., you got to do it. If it's Any camping activities, including backyard
Yes.
camping, you got to do it.
Right. Got it.
That
Got
kind
it.
of all the stuff that's already been there. The only change now is that if they're also going further than 75 miles, we need to know, because at that point, the driving guidelines kick in and we have to know that they're qualified drivers for the insurance purposes. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. Thank-
Yep, absolutely. Good question. I was going to say something, I don't remember what. Menopause. It comes in and out as quick as it gets there. Other
Any,
questions?
as we say, other questions, any comments?
I know what I think I know what I was going to say. I don't know. This is something new that popped in. If not, that we are, we had talked a lot about what could work, and I do want you to know that the 75 miles was a suggestion of council staff based on our conversation. There were groups, pretty much every group that we talked to, who said they felt like 75 miles was a little far. They really wanted us to be at 50. But because we are so spread out, 50 miles could not get you anywhere depending on where you are. And in some places, 75 miles doesn't, right? We know that. But we were trying, at 75 miles, it's getting close to an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half. You are potentially most always in our area going to be on a major interstate. Those are the things that we kind of thought in to move into this. There was a time that we talked about an hour away. Nope, because an hour for me might be very different than an hour for Beth, in the way that I have a little bit more of a lead foot. So that didn't work either. And I don't know, maybe Beth has more of a lead foot than me, but that didn't work either. So we felt like the miles was something that was very clear. And GSUSA was very clear that it worked for us to make sure that that it was from the regular Girl Scout meeting location.
So, Nikki, you mentioned something and you kind of touched on it, but then moved to another topic. And I just want to ask if you could reiterate and clarify, because I don't think I caught that.
Sure.
So make a distinction between inside the 75-mile circle and outside the 75-mile circle when it comes to if families choose to carpool to the Girl Scout meeting destination,
parents' decision,
within the 75 miles, and then if there's a thing that you're going to Girl Scouts individually and parents want to carpool, like dropping off a kid to camp, can you clarify how those things are going to work?
Yeah, camp is different. This is, again, as a troop or group activity.
Okay.
So if as a troop you were going, that is what this is. Under 75 miles, how they get there is completely and totally up to the parent. And I want to reiterate something that has been a huge misunderstanding or misconception that I've heard repeated multiple places, and I do want to clarify it now. Never, ever, ever did we say that we expect any volunteer to police anything. Even in the old guidelines, what we said was, this is what we expect that you understand and that you share with your members. But you don't have to, we're not asking any volunteer to be a police. We're not asking any staff to be a police. That's not our job or our role. So yes, again, under 75 miles, it is completely up to the parent. It is their responsibility how they're getting there. And that is involved in, independent, that's your personal insurance, your personal liability, what you choose as a parent. My neighbor is going to drop off my kid at the cookie booth or at the troop meeting or whatever that may be.
But once the troop group activities become 75 or more, then you should have a troop leader coordinating that transportation. Is that what we're saying, Nikki? Yes.
Yes. Yes. Or the other part, let me clarify again, I said once, or if it is under 75 miles and you're still organizing it as a troop, you want to carpool, you want to meet together and divide up, then all the guidelines still apply because you are now organizing carpooling as a troop or a group. So the 75 miles is out the window because as a group, you are organizing and it now becomes Girl Scout sanctioned and sponsored.
What would be an example of an organized carpooling? Can you help
Yeah,
us?
I think I said that earlier. You're in Roanoke. You're going to a Virginia Tech women's basketball game. If you say, we're all going to meet outside of Castle Coliseum at 6 p.m. and we will get the tickets and go in together, you are not organizing that. They are meeting you at the meeting location. If you say, we are going to meet at council headquarters and all carpool together, it now is required to follow Girl Scout guidelines, driving guidelines.
Even if you're going
Even if
within
it's under 75
miles.
miles, because you are organizing it, you are now taking on the role of a trip leader, and it is now required under our insurance.
So you should not be moving girls from point A to point B, even if you want to say, you can't say, I'm taking off my Girl Scout leader hat now and I'm
No.
carpooling some girls.
Can never do that. No, you can never do that if it's an organized Girl Scout activity. Yep.
So, and I think that's the key thing to understand is that in Girl Scout world, GSUSA looks at any activity that a trooper group is doing outside the troop meeting place is a Girl Scout activity, and you can't remove that liability, so to speak,
Yeah.
right? Because you are functioning as a troop leader, you know, as part of that, and so yeah, it's not. So what we're trying to do is just make it easier, especially within that. We know a lot of the activities for cookie booth and transportation within 75 miles. Hopefully, this is going to make it easier because then,
Yes.
like y'all can just say, hey, within 75 miles, just show up, right? And you don't have to, that takes
But
hope.
again, but let me say this, Kim. If you are the troop leader and you are not organizing that and you are going to Castle Coliseum and Susie Joe, I'm again making up complete names, Susie Joe along the way says, Kim, can you grab my daughter Cindy? That's fine because again, it's under 75 miles. You are not organizing a carpooling because you're not all meeting together and going.
I think that makes sense. And that is so troop leaders can still help each other out, carpool each other's kids
Right.
to and fro
Absolutely.
places. But if we start trying to take a whole patrol from the cookie booth to lunch, then
Yes.
that needs to stop.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're organizing it, yes, right? Yes. The other way. And ultimately our board said, okay, we hear you, we agree with that. They were very good. And again, by the time we got to them, it was really the conversations were with our insurance and legal teams and GSUSA. Now, we will come back to you every year. I want to be very clear in saying this to you. The insurance company said, this is the way it is right now. If you know anything about insurance or spent 5 minutes dealing with it, you know that it almost changes every other minute. And so he said, this could look very different in the next year or two, just like they added that drivers under 18 and over 75 must be pre-approved. So we will keep you updated as anything comes in that is non-negotiable that we can't change. But in other places like that, we will certainly advocate where we can and make sure that we can keep this as positive and as smooth of a transition as we can for everybody. All right, so I think we are moving on to important dates. If there are no more questions, I want to make sure we give everybody time.
I'll skip ahead while we do this.
The other part about this is there were a lot of different options, y'all, but what we came up with was we needed this to be as simple. I think, Kim, you said this, as simple and user-friendly as possible so that everyone understood it and could follow it. It becomes really hard when it's difficult and has a lot of steps or a lot of work. So we wanted to make sure we were as convenient as we could be. All right, so important dates for Save the Dates. Our virtual service unit roundtable, May 28th is the next one because, of course, we alternate months. We are going to have a virtual town hall April 23rd. Again, we're going to go over our NCS 2026, our discussion topics as well as proposals, and of course, our volunteer appreciation town hall. And then the service unit campout is May 2nd and 3rd, and that registration is open. Please come, it'll be fun.
Jason Dobin.
Yep. Jody, you want to talk about the glamping?
Yeah, yeah. So registration is open. Sorry about the delay. We kind of overwhelmed the system. But we have several participation options. So if you have members that cannot come on Saturday, but they can come on Sunday, there's lots of options. We're offering lots of fun things. For those that want to glamp, you'll be able to glamp in the gym. We have some cots, so there's 20 max, just so you know, but we have plenty of air mattresses. And we'll provide you a fitted sheet for that. Or you can choose to camp out in your personal tent, that's fine. Or if you want to sleep off site, say, nope, I don't want to glamp, I just want to glamp in a different way, right? So we'll let you do that, that's fine.
Glamp at the Marriott.
Exactly. They might want to glamp at the Marriott. That's exactly right. And so Saturday we just have in addition to our other things, you have an option to do hiker training on Saturday, and then we added level 1 archery for Sunday. Janet Miller is gonna be offering first aid CPR at a really great rate. It's only $16 per session. So there is some pre-work that you have to do both for archery and first aid CPR. So we are monitoring those registrations. We will be reaching out to you and emailing you the additional information that you need to know. And then I will be offering event planning in the afternoon on Sunday. So those are kind of just the min max that we need to make sure those trainings happen. But please do register. We hope that all of you will come. I know the program team's really excited about providing level 1 archery. So we're kicking off our archery sessions at the camp out. So we're really excited about that. Any questions about any of that? Hopefully you are excited about all the options. And there's an agenda. There's the agenda. Like we that is pretty much going to be agenda. You know, sometimes things get tweaked a little bit, but you can download a copy of the agenda. Is anything in the chat already? Yeah, yes, yes, yes. We're excited. Yes, I'm so glad. So we hope that that y'all will come. So yeah, and that's it. That's it for today. So we will take the slides that we provided tonight and put in with some talking points underneath the slides for y'all. So to help you explain what we explained. And so under the slides you'll see there's notes that you can share with volunteers in your area. So just know. So we'll be taking those over, and all the department updates will be in the service unit talking points. And my goal is to have it on.
Can we please have those before the second Monday, please?
I will. I'm gonna have Beth. I'm gonna have them to you by Monday. So just so you know, they're gonna be. I am posting the talking points by Monday. So everybody's been warned. It's happening. So yeah. So
Jody, in particular, the part I know Bonnie Ball, who's on this call tonight, and a volunteer that I'm gonna reference some cases that they've submitted regarding upload. Like they might have had the role last year, and they're struggling with how to upload their documentation this year. And so that's something I'm noticing a trend now. That people are struggling with.
Yeah, that's fine. We will. So one of the things that we've been waiting on is to roll this out. But yes, I will go and adjust the settings in GS Learn so people don't have difficulty uploading their forms. Okay. Yeah. So know that will be happening. If someone is struggling, just have them email info and I'll put.
Yeah, this one person.
I'll put an extra slide.
Said that they've emailed twice and never got a response.
Okay, that's fine. Well, and it's because we were trying to get these out first. So yeah, that's fine. But we will get back to everybody. So anybody that emailed about driver guidelines, we will be sharing that these will be posted in the talking points and be following up with them. Part of it's we didn't have an answer to give, but hopefully that helps. But now we do. But yeah, I'll put a little thing on steps on how to re-upload. right?
Yeah, I think
If
that'd
you
be very
uploaded your
helpful.
if you uploaded your form in January, so here's the key thing I think that y'all need to
Yeah.
understand is she says her role is inactive. So yeah, so what happens when you submit the forms up into GS Learn and it gets approved, that triggers a report for customer care, who then will renew the roles. But like I said, there's kind of been a pause because we were waiting on all this to be rolled out. But we will start renewing the roles and all those things. So just so you know, that'll start happening. Okay? Great. Awesome. Hopefully that helps explain. All right.
Any other questions, thoughts, comments? I want to mention, I don't have these here, and I just, if I could show you, I don't have the calendar, but if I showed you the April calendar, there's about 5 things every day. So I've just finished doing organizing some of our Brew with You events. So look for those. I'm going to try to get those out this by Friday so that you can. Tomorrow is Friday. By Monday, tomorrow or
Okay.
Monday, so that you all can join us for one of those events in the area, in your area during Volunteer Appreciation Month. Certainly want to have an opportunity to say thank you.
And, Beth, when is the CIT? It's April 18th. And right now we do have 2 registered, and we're going to hold that class with those 2 girls, Beth, if you're okay. That gives us a good chance to run through. I'm going to reach out to you, Beth, so we can kind of meet up ahead of time and run through some of the changes, if that's okay. I will contact you. I'm not quite ready to walk through it yet, but hopefully that helps, Beth. Thanks for asking. Does that answer your question? Yes, great. We would love to have, yes.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we would love to have you. Have you and Lou. Perfect.
Well, thank you all so much for being on. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for participating, partnering with us, and being patient as we did all of our due diligence to make sure we could get us in the best situation possible. I'm glad we took the time and had multiple meetings in multiple places that led us to this versus trying to do something quickly that may not have been what really everyone needed.
Good.
All right. Well, as always, thanks for everything that you do. I appreciate you being here. And I so look forward to seeing many of you in April and celebrating you all during Volunteer Appreciation Month.
And don't forget about the recognition ceremony. Nominees have been
Yes.
announced. Yes, so please sign up and register and come support all of those that are
April
being
19th.
awarded. April 19th. So come and
Sunday
support.
afternoon. Gonna be fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Good
have a
night,
great
everyone.
evening.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you so much.